And I'll weigh in before we go for a second.
The motion on the floor is for reconsideration, so to bring the discussion back, you really should make a decision about bringing it back.
I thought we had a second.
You had a second, but you haven't voted.
Okay, well, all those in favor of bringing it back...
another 2 rounds afterwards, thank you.
All those in favor of bringing it back for consideration signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. You know, we've made a commitment to the downtown. We've made a commitment to these citizens. We've made a commitment, most important, to our business owners downtown. And what we are telling them now, by not wanting to go with one trench and do it as one project, is that we are more concerned about several $1,000s here than we are the businesses downtown who need to get this construction project done. And that we owe a commitment to them as hardworking business owners every day that we are going to do this as effectively and efficiently as possible. And I think by us stepping back and saying we will not approve this engineering cost, and I agree, I have been on this council for the years I've been on, every time, and how many times have people heard me say, you mean we have to pay this before we can even buy a brick or buy a shovel to dig a hole? That's the cost of doing business, to make sure it's done right, it's done safe, and it's done the most effective way that in the end will save the most dollars that we can possibly save. And so I implore you to reconsider this and to please let's move forward with this project. Let's start again. Mr. Keller?
Briefly, I had a sidebar with the city clerk here. There is a potential to either re-amend it or divide the question. Based on the vote tally that came out in the end, there didn't seem to be support for spending the $59,000, but there was support for burying the utility lines. If we divide the question, we could accomplish that end and debate the lighting of these trees as a separate issue.
I suggest that that's a better way to move forward.
Well, let's talk about that after this one.
Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
Okay, I'm going to try to get all my questions out before you move on. I'll let you know when I'm done.
Okay.
I could have probably saved a lot of this debate, but everybody needed to talk, and I appreciate seeing some points of view. My position seems to be alone. I want to stop the project, hold it off for a year, give the business people downtown a chance to recover. I'm not seeing anyone else agreeing with me. I'll respect that, move on. Next question I have, there's absolutely no excuse for ComEd, Verizon, and Comcast not to have been planned to be in the same ditch. I've literally general contracted probably a dozen projects. They all could have been in the same ditch. They all will cooperate. What the problem is they can't coordinate the time, the date, to be there the same day. And Jennifer also explained that even if they do plan on being there, they could get pulled off in a storm emergency, anything. I need some questions here answered. I mean, you don't put the electric with the water. You don't put the gas with the electric. I mean, those things are obvious, but there's no reason you can't have ComEd, Verizon, and Comcast. I still say you can pick one of those ditches. You don't need to re-engineer it. What are we buying? What are we paying for? The conduit that they can pull their stuff through on different days? Or what are we actually doing? I mean, is it just the bureaucracy and paperwork of the state of Illinois that's requiring us to go through these steps because we're also on Route 38? Because if I was building a project, in fact, I've done it, where we figured out, geez, let's get a hold of Verizon, let's get a hold of Comcast, or the fiber optics people. Before we close this ditch, let me make a phone call, and they'll come right out and do it, and they'll say, great, I'm glad you called us. This cannot be as simple as just the bureaucracy, but if it is, tell me, because there's no way, if this project's going forward, and Mr. Simpson's correct, that I will stand for it being stretched out and causing more problems that are already going to be obvious for those business people. Joe, please help me out here.
There's the economy of the one contractor, which would be the city's contractor, in excavating the one ditch. He's staying on the project. He's not leaving for other reasons because he's got his manpower and production planned for that work period to work from Locust Street 1st to 4th Street. He's going to excavate the ditch, and he's going to place a conduit. It may be a bank of conduits that are then encased in concrete, and then 18 inches over in the same wide ditch you have Verizon, and you have another 12 inches over you have Comcast. So there is separation between the three, but it's the one ditch, and it's all placed with efficiency without need to come back and do some temporary patching and whatnot, because you'd have otherwise three three agencies trying to work in separate ditches at separate times and then having to patch and return at different parts of the progress of the project. So the overall efficiency is great. You'll have less downtime in the street and traffic loss of the street, and you'll have, patrons back to the businesses in a quicker fashion than you would if you had three agencies trying to work in three different places.
Okay, Joel, is there any way we can get away without spending that $59,000 that you can think of right now, and get the project that is proposed for tonight?
Well, the $34,000 is, as Mark mentioned, the core of this is to have that efficiency of the Locust Street one ditch built for $34,000 engineered. The other items of something around $16,000, $17,000 for trees between the two streets is another question maybe that's brought in a separate resolution. Or
So we spend that $34,000. Is there any net savings? Is it $7,000 net savings or 7?
Yeah.
Oh, of course we got to vote yes. I didn't get what I wanted out of this, and it was just to stop the project and hold it and delay it for 1 year. I'm not going to be sitting here and being shooting my foot, despite myself. I'm disappointed this wasn't anticipated ahead of time, but it's still a save. One thing that I want to point out that I expect, the problems that we had with damage to people's air conditioning coils, I think that the city needs to be communicating with these different places, and maybe we got to go out and pressure wash them ahead of time when we're done. We're also going to have to anticipate there's going to be unforeseen. I mean, what do we have, $200,000 in overruns on Evangel Plaza? I mean, there's old infrastructure. You're going to have some surprises. I'm hoping that Hitchcock understands that in Baxter Woodman that we want them involved and to help make sure if we're going to spend a little bit of extra money here, we want this to go very efficiently. When these unexpected things come in, we expect and demand help immediately, not something that delays 2 weeks or 4 weeks.
Any other comments? Mr. Simpson?
I'd like to apologize to the council for the apparent acrimonious tone of my voice and my last comments. That's all.
Yes, Mr. Keller.
In keeping with what was said, perhaps it would be appropriate to divide the question so that we can move forward on this. And so I'd make that motion.
You want to move to amend the motion to reflect?
Well, we voted to reconsider, so now we're reconsidering it. So my motion is to divide the question between the Barry Old power lines for the $34,000 and the remaining amount.
That's sort of back to your original.
No, it's not, because my original amendment was to kill that other part and keep the $34,000. This is to divide it into two separate resolutions, so we'll vote on the two separate issues as a compromise motion.
That can be considered as a part of the reconsideration amendment, or?
There's been a reconsideration. The main motion, the main resolution is now back on the table. Mr. Keller is right procedurally, I believe, to split the main motion, which is in your background materials, into two separate questions. One is spending engineering money, Mr. Keller, correct me if I'm wrong, spend engineering money to do the single trenching, vote that up or down, and then the second question now will be spend engineering money for the street, tree lighting and the painting of the poles.
That's correct.
So let's hold off on the painting and the lights till we see if the first one goes through.
Well, vote however you want on that, but there's two separate motions now.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second to that?
Second,
Mr. Tarazinski. To further discussion. So does everybody understand that? We are now voting on strictly the single trench engineering cost, which is approximately $34,000. Is that correct?
We have to vote up the motion to divide the question.
The separation motion first?
Okay, all those in favor of the separation motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, now we are going to a motion. Do I hear then, how do we move forward with that then? A motion?
You would have to make your motion to
Approve the 34. I would move that we
trenching.
approve the the expenditure of $34,000 out of the TIF to
second.
for the trenching.
Any further discussion?